board has supported us over the last couple of years. One, for working harder during the pandemic. We receive up to $2,200 in stipends every staff member, which our board approved. Along with that, there were 2 mental health days tacked on to our winter break, which extended that for all staff members. And then small things such as positions that didn't exist before, such as RTI specialists from the K through 8 level and then high school instructional specialists. Those are just a few things. The list goes on, but we appreciate our board more than you know, and it's a pleasure working with each and every one of you.
Thank you.
The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education released MSIP-6 and APR data for all Missouri schools. We know that news outlets will be reporting this soon, and so this week, Dr. Seifert sent out this message. The Missouri School Improvement Plan, MSIP-6, is the state's accountability system for reviewing and accrediting local education agencies. MSIP-6 standards and indicators were approved by the State Board of Education in February 2020. And this year is the first of 3 years our district will receive an annual performance report. This is the APR percentage, which all 3 years of the percentages will be averaged to give us our first official and initial classification of accreditation in 2024 and 2025. The MSIP-6 standards and indicators are divided into 3 sets: continuous improvement, performance standards, best practice. The new APR system cannot be compared to previous years. It contains data from the 21-22 school year only. It reflects the ongoing impact of the pandemic, including its disproportionate impacts on some of our subgroups. It is one of many data points for us to use as plans for improvement and a snapshot at performance in our district. With that said, the City of St. Charles School District will continue to be fully accredited. However, we want to encourage all of our staff, students, and families to continue to focus on our instructional and assessment practices. We're all very proud to be a part of the City of St. Charles School District, and we'll do what it takes to keep moving forward and helping our students achieve to its fullest. We would like to congratulate Mr. Martin Hanley, who will become our new Director of Lewis and Clark. He will be replacing our current Director, Andrew Stewart, who will be retiring at the end of this school year. So let's give Mr. Martin Hanley a round of applause. Interesting note, probably feels like he's coming back home. He was a Lewis and Clark teacher for many, many years, went away, gained his roots in leadership, and now he's coming back to lead Lewis and Clark, so we're very happy to have you, sir. All right, spring sports has arrived. Golf, girls soccer, baseball, track and field are all practicing and preparing for their upcoming seasons. The spring musical at St. Charles High will take place this weekend, Once Upon a Mattress. If you have a chance, please go out and support our students. In April, we will have 3 board seats available, high-quality candidates, and we encourage all of our community to vote. And last but not least, spring break is just 1 week away. We hope all of you have a fantastic break, and let's finish the school year strong.
Thank you. Item 4.04 is for board communication. Do we have any board communication?
We do. We have received 2 cards in the mail. One, a thank you to the whole Board of Education from the Lincoln staff, thanking us for our work. And then we also received a thank you note from a teacher in the district saying she's thankful for our commitment and dedication to the community, and also for the decision to forgive the snow day, I guess. That is all.
That was a good decision, too. Okay. Item 4.05 is School Board Recognition Week. Am I turning that open to anybody? Other than
That's me. I can do a little something there.
I'm glad you're,
No, I'm with you.
okay.
So Dr. Lewis already had in our superintendent comments just to talk about our Board of Education, but I want to take this time as a superintendent to thank them again. And I know when I walked in tonight a little bit late and I wasn't supposed to be here, they all said, "What are you doing here?" And little tongue in cheek, but I wanted to be back tonight because Leslie Knight, this is your last meeting, full meeting. You'll be with us in April just for the first part, and then we'll have new members sworn in. But I want to thank you personally, because you've been here as long as I've been here. I mean, really, we started together, so thank you so much for your. Wait, well, I am, but thank you for all your service and your leadership, and I appreciate it. And to all of our members, thank you for all that you do. Hopefully you have a chance and an opportunity tonight to read the cards from our staff and from our students. Obviously, our students do a great job. And we are truly blessed to have a leadership board that really cares about what's best for our kids and our staff and our district. And the leadership that Dr. Towers, as our president, has, I just want to thank you as well, and each member, from Daniel to Heidi to Ellen. Obviously, Lori and Mike are not here with us, but thank you so much for all that you do. And if we can, let's give them another round of applause. I'm going to stand up for them.
Thank you.
You don't have to, but I will. There you go. And I really want to say this. This is not me saying, oh, you know, I'm kissing up to the bosses. I really, truly appreciate the work. It's a volunteer situation, and they do a great job of not only supporting me, but supporting our entire staff and our community, and I thank you guys for your leadership. And you know all of this was not done by me or us. Kelly Pellin gets a hand as well. Thank you for all that she does. She's a big part of this as well. So, again, thank you, and happy Board Appreciation Week.
Thank you. It's nice to be appreciated.
Yes, it is.
Item 4.06 is audience comments. Heidi?
Yes. All regular and special meetings of the board shall be open to the public. Since the board desires to be a good listener and be responsive to the community, persons desiring to address the board may do so during the time so allotted on the agenda and according to established procedures. During the audience portion of each board meeting, patrons are invited by the president to speak for or against any proposal on the tentative agenda or on any other school concern. The individual is asked to identify him or herself, limit comments to 3 minutes, and avoid discussing personalities. The president reserves the right to limit the number of presentations and/or length of comments. At the discretion of the president, patrons may be recognized at other times during the board meeting. The board is very interested in audience comments. According to board policy, members cannot respond during the actual meeting. The board will listen to and research all audience comments. If necessary, additional follow-up will occur through district administrators.
Thank you. We do have 2 audience comment cards. Jill Meyer?
Okay, thank you. I'm Jill Meyer. Want to say good evening to all the board members, to Dr. Seifert and all the administration. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the SCEA and the SCSD. And as we discussed, it's Board of Education Week. We'd like to thank you all the members of the school board for your support, working for the students, teachers, staff, and all the community of St. Charles. Now more than ever, it is so important to have a strong and supportive school board within the public school system. School boards are caretakers of our public education. We hope you received and had a chance to look at the notes and cards and letters that the students created for you. We thank you so much for all that you do. We have a shout out to our own SCEA representative, Brendan Kearns. He has been elected as a state representative for the National Education Association Representative Assembly. That's going to be in Orlando, Florida in July of this year. Care to Learn is celebrating its 15th anniversary. So there will be an upcoming Jeans Fundraiser Week district-wide held April 3rd through the 7th. So we're hoping that all of our staff will be participating in that. I think that you can also support this organization by going to their website. They have t-shirts for sale that will have all the 41 chapters listed on them. I know all of our teachers and staff are looking forward to spring break that's coming up. And finally, SCSD is looking forward to continuing our work with the salary committee with our next meeting on Monday. So again, thank you for all that you do for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Jill. Lauren Mertz?
Hi, I'm Lauren Mertz, and tonight I'm speaking as a parent and not as my typical role up here. So I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for all of your work that you're doing for the students of our district. And I just wanted to let you know about a little problem that we're having that I have talked to Dr. Habel about and he is working on, but I want you to know about it so that you can support whatever ideas come out of this. So like I said, I have a senior who's working diligently to get as many scholarships as he can because we need to. And here's the problem that we're having. When it comes to scholarship applications and it asks for academic honors, there really are not any that are offered at his school, which is weird because I have his transcript right here. He's taken 9 honors classes, 4 AP courses. He's currently taking 5 college courses, and he will come out with 17 college hours with a weighted grade point average of, he has right now, 4.466, and an unweighted grade point average of 3.983. Currently, there is not an honor roll or dean's list for students in the high school. So I would just thank you. I don't know that it could really help him right now because a lot of his scholarship applications are in the, like, getting finalized right now, but I just think it would really help the kids to support them, encourage them, because really we want to show our students that are meeting and exceeding the expectations, that their learning is really important. And thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Item 4.07, do I have a motion to amend or adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Well, I haven't passed that yet.
Yeah.
That's coming up when I.
Give it up.
I was going to wait to pass on the second reading, but yeah. All those opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. Item 5, excuse me, item 5.01, the consent agenda. For efficiency, the school board utilizes a consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda are routine in nature or are among the many decisions that the board has already determined are in the domain of the administration. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes. Item 7.01 under old business. We have policy changes, and this is the second reading. Are there any comments or questions about this extensive number of policy changes? And we did talk about them last month a little bit. So is there a motion to approve?
I approve, I move that we approve the policy changes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. One of the policy changes in this one is a board policy that states from MSBA that board votes need to be more visible to audiences who are not physically present. And the only way, so from now on, we will have an aye and a raise your hand at the same time. So we'll start enacting that. What if one of us would want to vote no? No, then you vote nay. Oh, okay. So when you vote aye, we have it, and those that vote nay, then you get to do it again.
We're going Roman gladiator style.
Right. I was
right.
going to say, you can show any hand symbol you care to, but
Not
I
any.
won't go that far.
Let's not go any.
Okay. Under new business, item 8.01, these policy changes are first readings, and we'll approve them at our next meeting. If there are any questions about them.
Yeah, I think my initial question always is when we're adopting or doing a first reading of these policies, the nature of the update. And is this from, I guess, probably MSBA changes or just internal changes?
Yes, these policies in particular are really related to curriculum and instruction, but mainly with M-6 and the updates to M-6. So you have policy IF, which is just kind of changing some of the language from the old M-5 to M-6. Policy IGAD is really asking for a board commitment to career and technical education. And then policy IGCE. That is in compliance with the new state law, which allows A-plus funds to now be used for dual enrollment, for dual credit courses.
And also, just in general clarification, Mr. Hewitt, typically, we will, when MSBA comes out with their annual revisions, it's because of obviously laws has changed. So we're usually having those conversations about what laws look like. And then when MSBA comes out, not that we can't have conversations or have questions of what MSBA is revising, but typically those have less conversation. Now, we will have internal ones, and typically, we will let you know that that's like specific things that we're talking about here if we're changing board policy. And usually, those have more of a conversation, because then we're typically revising what MSBA already has in there. Does that make sense? So most of all these, the slew of them, and we kind of teased that for about a month ago, was saying, hey, a lot of these, and doesn't mean doesn't mean we should just rubber stamp them, but most of these are coming from MSBA that have already been vetted because of the law changes.
Yeah, sure, and that's always why I ask, whenever we look at policy and stuff, I'm always curious of the nature of it. So I was guessing it was one of those two things, so I appreciate the response and knowing that we're doing what we're supposed to for revising our board policy relevantly and timely to match current regulation and also, you know, the changes that our legislature pushed through. So thank you.
And just a quick side note, we love when Mrs. Pendleton sends those out to all of us, because then we have to vet them to make sure they're okay. So that's a fun time when they come
I
out.
love reading them.
Oh, yeah, you do
So-
that, yeah, so.
There's two things I ask questions about. One's policy, the other one's coming up.
Okay, item 8.02. This is the bond project for Null. Jeremy?
I almost felt like that was a challenge from Mr.
Yeah.
Miller.
It's coming, you know,
Yeah.
you know.
So, so the Knoll project is one of our most extensive projects that we had on the bond issue, primarily because there is a FEMA-style gymnasium that's connected to that project, in addition to an addition at the southern portion of Knoll, which would include an elevator, a fire suppression system, flooring changes in the current gymnasium space, and some HVAC upgrades along with automatic control upgrades to that building. The thing that's intriguing about this project is it's been about 10 years of bond issue that we've been operating under, and Knoll has honestly taken a back seat in most of these projects over the years, specifically the gymnasium piece. It's important to Knoll to get this and to receive this. They are the only elementary school right now that does not have a dedicated gymnasium space. This one is shared. Their current space is small. It's small for an elementary gym, and it is also shared with cafeteria usage. So it completely limits Dr. Kimsey and her staff on how they schedule and conduct daily operations. So that being said, I already said it's one of the most extensive projects we have on the bond. It is costly. We allocated several years ago about 4.5 for this project. We will be lucky to hit around 7.2 to get this work completed. But I think it's worthy. I think it's worthy of our consideration to move this project forward, primarily because it's been a building that has not been touched within a bond in any significant manner for over 10 years. Additionally, there is ADA compliance that we want to ensure with that elevator space that I think is crucial for this building and crucial for the staff to ensure that they are providing that safe and equal atmosphere for all students. So you'll see on there that there is, with the bids, they came back, they're very, very competitive with each other. You'll also note on there that the alternates, if we were able to take something off, we're not taking off a considerable chunk of money out of that project. So my fear is if we were to even consider taking off an alternate, which certainly we would be able to do, but if we would, at some point in time, we're going to have to address that. And addressing it with, in a way, after the fact, on small chunks, increases the cost for those contractors to come back. So I do want to follow DHA's recommendation to you all, to the board, to decide to vote on and ask for your acceptance in the Knoll bid.
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah, thanks. I think KNS is who,
KNS.
yeah, lowest supplier on this one, who we were gonna award with. Are they doing any other projects for us, or have they recently?
They have not done any projects for the City of St. Charles School Districts, to my knowledge.
Okay.
I did speak to Dwight Dickinson from DHA Architects. The firm has had several current projects with them in recent, within the last year or 2 years. I can't specify which one that is. Special School District, and I want to say Eureka High School, potentially. And one of the project managers for DHA that I really enjoy speaking to and working with, because I consider them probably one of the best bulldogs for us from a project manager standpoint, had high remarks to them before, as I've spoken with her through some of this process. So their reputation seems to be sound with the architectural firm.
Okay, cool. You warned me, I think, or us, last month about the budget on this one probably coming to hurt us when we did an overall, I think, bond budget comparison, but the difference is, yes, hurts my soul a little bit. Is this kind of difference, I mean, we saw it in a competitive landscape here with 4 suppliers. Is this a common thing that we're still seeing from these types of suppliers in other areas that are doing these similar types of projects? It's going to end potentially soon, or are we just kind of living what everybody else is living?
We're definitely living what everyone else is living. It's a great question, because it's one I've been asking myself since before I took over this position, but it's definitely comparable to what everyone else is experiencing. I do know that Don Hussman did reach out to a couple of other agencies outside of this region to see what their impact was regarding gymnasium space, specifically FEMA-style storm shelter. And they're going for over $500 a square foot for those spaces. As I'd mentioned previously, there are some things in the previous board meeting, there are some things with code that federal regulations that weren't connected to this project, simply because we were able to get some of the plans approved by the city prior to that, but that would have also have increased the cost. So I consider us a bit fortunate. I know that's hard to hear, but I do consider us a bit fortunate with that.
Sorry, dropped a.
Well, the good news is we're not building a whole building. There's some school districts
Sure.
out there that are building, and it's been highly televised a little bit on a few projects around the county where schools have, the entire school buildings have gone for,
Yeah.
projects have almost doubled at times. So we're fortunate that this is a renovation.
Yeah, not building a water park, right?
No. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to, I forget what I was going to say now. My apologies.
Do you want me to go?
It was going to be
I
a
got
great
some
point.
more.
Go ahead. I'm enjoying
Is
it.
there any, so we talked about a couple of add-ons for stuff, and yeah, when we look at it for comparison, relative to the amount of money for the base bid, they are small. But when we look at this from the overall bond project and kind of the scope of stuff, is there anything that we could look at to try to save money and not do from the overall scope? Or is kind of all of this needed, even if it's not stuff that's listed for the additional items?
Right. I would consider this essential to the building. It's been
10 years.
documented for over 10
Yeah.
I
Well, and
think it's
let me
time.
interrupt just so, because I don't want anybody to think, there was an addition added to that building. Was it 2-3 years ago? There's a couple classrooms in the
Oh,
back
yeah.
that were added, so I want to make sure
Yeah.
that there has been an addition on there, but even
Sure.
at that time, if I remember correctly, we scaled that back at that point because of where we're at. Because it's about managing all these projects on the bond list, right? So we're constantly having conversations with our principals too of, and trying to update with them of just the list kind of bumps down as we go, and everybody knows we have to adjust because of the prices. So I didn't mean to jump in, but I thought, I just wanted to add that there was an addition there, but what we're looking for there is, there's really no frills at this point. It's make sure that we have the right facility for our kids, and that's where we're at, and the price, unfortunately. And I will say, as we do that, the bond money is the bond money, so then we just adjust the list as it goes, and we have that communication and conversation with the principals, and they have a pretty good idea that happens, because it's happened before, so.
Yeah. I was able to meet with DHA last Friday and look at some of the remaining projects that we have, hoping to be mostly completed by the fall of 2024 with the bond projects that we have. So we finished about 9 months ahead of schedule, but that certainly gives us a little bit of wiggle room.
And when you say the bad news is, but also the good news is, maybe a project or two that has to maybe wait for the next slew of bond issue money would, it's not essential.
We had another FEMA gymnasium on there that we would have liked to have seen go through.
But it's
this
not an
bond.
essential piece
Sure,
at this
it is
point. So
definitely
we
not
feel,
essential.
we still want it, but we
Yeah.
understand that that probably have to be bumped, so.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense, and I think that's when we talked last month, knowing that this was coming with looking at everything. I think one of my questions last month was, are there stuff on that bond agenda that maybe is a nice to have that's gonna get kicked out? And that might be definitely a yes. I'm all for FEMA shelters. There was a tornado drill a couple weeks ago. My kids go to a school that has a FEMA gymnasium, so I got a message saying that we were going into that protocol, and I immediately didn't think I need to go get my kids. I thought they're safer here or there than I am at home. So it's great. They are.
And to be honest with you, they're a lot more comfortable. I'm looking at some of
In the
our staff out
gymnasium.
here that are, one of our staff members was in the basement. It's very safe there, but it's not as comfortable as a FEMA shelter, right? Lauren, am I correct? So we feel like our kids are all safe in different areas, but in that FEMA shelter, and I think you already said this, Mr. Shields, that's code now. I mean, when you build a gymnasium now, it has to be a female, not a female or a male, but a female shelter. Is that,
Yeah.
is that correct?
And there's
I
a
think you've
tremendous
already
amount,
said that,
yeah,
but-
there's a tremendous amount of regulations that are involved with that in order to meet the specifications. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the reality of doing business in public education and designing gymnasiums.
I have one last question that has a follow-up. So it's technically two. How long do we think this one's gonna take?
This will take us into the spring of '24.
Okay. So, knowing the timing of when the bond money has to be spent, with this taking that long, is there any consideration with a competitive bid of, if we said no and said, we're not gonna approve this and we have to go back out, what we're essentially gonna have to do is go and try to compete this again and hope that, we get other bids that are lower. Is that feasible for the timeline? And at the same time, is that even, I guess, question from me, edification, is that even feasible with knowing that we do stuff with sealed bids? These are no longer sealed bids, so if we went and put an RFP out for this again, everybody would see what everybody bid already. So would we have valid competition again? Or realistically, kind of what is our opportunity here for anything other than kind of what we
Well,
see?
for us to go back, I think certainly we would have to look and redesign some of the scope
Okay.
of the project
Yep.
to ensure competitive bidding. So I think that's one piece to it. The second piece is, we are taking a chance, as I know you're aware. We're taking a chance on what happens with the cost, what happens with worker shortages that we're all experiencing. So, yeah, there certainly would be a bit of a risk.
Sure. Okay.
It could.
And you've got a staff, you have a building leader and a staff, and you have community and families and students that have been waiting for this for a while now. And I think it's a great question. I think your questions are valid, but we're ready to get that project going if we can. It hurts us a little bit of what the price is, but I think, as Leslie just said, I think you'd be gambling of what would it look like in a year or two. Anytime soon.
I agree with you. And also, you're talking about ADA, we're talking about FEMA shelters. That's not stuff that I want to deal with. So, thank you.
Absolutely.
You answered all of my questions. So I move to approve the bond project bid tabulation for Knoll Construction bid as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, raise your hand and say nay. This passes. Okay, item 9.01. This is the utility rebate presentation. Jeremy, are you doing that one too?
Yeah, that's me again.
It's you
But
again. You're
we
on.
have our good friends from FSG and ACES Automatic Controls that are joining us today. And Chris Jordan is probably primarily speaking out. Am I correct on that, or do we? Okay. And Chris is from FSG, Facility Solutions Group, and we have automatic controls with Justin and Adam with us as well. And if you guys haven't been able to keep up with some of the work that the district has been doing, we are regionally recognized with our HVAC and our energy efficiency. And I would love to sit up here and take a tremendous amount of credit for that as a feather in my cap, but I cannot do so. It's primarily on the backs of this crew here, Mr. Josh Schaefer and Dr. Charles Brazil. So certainly wanted to recognize that, but they are going to present and just give you guys an analysis of how that's been, how we've been efficient, and then provide you with a financial outlook on some of the rebates and incentives we've received from that work. Thanks, Chris.
Pushed. So thank you again, guys, for having us. I just want to say that I've been working with the school district since 2009. One of the first projects we did was a small HVAC renovation at Jefferson. And here we are 14 years later, and I just appreciate my relationship with you guys, and especially some of the relationships that I've had. You mentioned Charles Brazil and Josh Schaefer, and now Jeremy. It's always nice working with folks that you trust and that have the district's best interest in mind. So tonight, you guys have made some significant investments in your, I call cycle maintenance projects. So want to go over some of those projects, talk about some of the initial strategies and goals of those projects when we started talking about these projects back in 2020, and really show you guys that the proof is in the pudding. We've got evidence here, that validation that the systems that we're putting into place is resulting in significant energy improvement in your buildings. And you guys can realize those savings in real time, and we've got justification and validation for it. And then the best part about tonight is the Ameren check presentation at the end of this. We did this last year, which was kind of a check that we had received for utility rebates. This is Jim Travis with the Ameren Energy Efficiency Program. He's here tonight. So the check that we're going to be presenting tonight is more or less where we're at this point. And part of the discussion tonight is going to show you guys that we've actually got upcoming projects still, and to forecast what we think that final Ameren incentive check will be, which is pretty awesome. So with that being said, we can get into some of the projects that we've done to this point. Do I have a... I just kept looking at it, waiting for it to change to the next slide. So right out of the gate, this building here was one of the first projects that the bond issue addressed with the building automation system. Looking at the list at the bottom, the first one, big project out of the gate, was Harris Elementary, where we did extensive HVAC, building automation, and lighting upgrades. I think that was the summer of '21. And then last summer, which was very crazy from my standpoint, we did Monroe Elementary. As many of you are aware, we did a pretty extensive gut renovation of one of the classroom wings. But in addition to that, we also replaced much of the HVAC and lighting throughout the remainder of that building, with exception to phase 2 that's going to occur this summer. So big project. It was a very stressful project, as some of you might be aware, with just the timing and equipment delays, but we got through it. Lewis and Clark and St. Charles High School, those were extensive HVAC and building automation upgrades. We made some significant system changes at Lewis and Clark just from an efficiency standpoint. Success Campus, as you guys are aware, that was pretty much gutted down to the studs. But by doing that, we had to address the non-code compliant HVAC systems that was obviously going to be code compliant, but was conducive to the space needs of the renovation. So another significant project. So upcoming, I know that ACES and Justin's going to speak to their company to kind of highlight some of the things that make them what I consider very unique in terms of building automation contractors. They are doing a bunch of BAS upgrades scheduled with you guys through ESSER fund money. So just to highlight some of those, we've got St. Charles West High School, the remainder of St. Charles High School that we didn't do last summer, Hardin Middle School, and I think there might be some others. In addition, we've got additional HVAC and building automation system upgrades occurring at Coverdell and Lincoln. I spoke about Monroe, which is going to be phase 2, which will be kind of the final piece of that project, basically addressing all of the HVAC, lighting, and automation systems at Monroe Elementary when we're said and done. We just talked about Knoll Elementary. We are replacing some of the HVAC systems there that remain that need to be addressed, in addition to adding new high-efficiency systems for the building addition and renovations. And then last but not least, Blackhurst Elementary. So this is just kind of a forecast. What we're going to show you tonight is stuff that we can validate in the way of Energy Star from a performance standpoint, and to highlight that we've got more projects that are going to be coming that we can continue to trend throughout the years. So when we first got involved with Charles and Josh early on with the bond planning a couple years ago, it was a big point that obviously we're going to be replacing systems that are at the end of their useful life, but let's make this more than just a system replacement. Let's really optimize and make these systems perform and be as efficient as possible as they possibly can be. So some strategies that we took, obviously we're going to replace systems with high efficiency systems, kind of a no-brainer. But really what I call energy conservation measures, it basically boils down to really using that building automation system to its fullest capability, because so many times building automation systems just become a scheduling tool, and you don't really utilize some of the inherent benefits of doing different control strategies. And through partnership with our relationship with Automatic Controls Equipment Systems, through collaboration, we really optimized all of these new systems that we put into to the furthest extent that we possibly could. And Adam is going to go through some of the Energy Star, which is more or less kind of a comparison of your building relative to other buildings of its type, and it kind of grades you in terms of efficiency. And I think you're going to be really pleased with what you see. And then obviously, being good stewards of your money, these are significant investments. So there are Ameren and Spire incentives out there, primarily Ameren, that we wanted to make sure that we took advantage of, because you're making significant investments. Let's at least utilize it and offset some of those first costs as much as possible. So for that, I'll turn it over to Justin.
Hello, my name is Justin Vogt. I'm the president of Automatic Controls. ACES is kind of our acronym, everyone calls us. So we've been in business for over 40 years. We represent the automated logic product line, and we have for over 30 years. We do a significant amount of our work with school districts. So we really feel like we understand your environments. We really focus on healthy, comfortable, and energy-efficient buildings. It's really how we focus, when we're looking at the type of systems we control. So we also have an energy engineer, Adam, who's going to be the highlight, I think, here, who his purpose really for our company is to find energy savings and Ameren incentives for all of our projects that we do with you and many of our customers. Something unique about us is that we're a third-party controls contractor. So we don't sell HVAC equipment. We're not a HVAC installer. We are literally just a controls contractor, and all of our people are trained specifically in our product line. So you can find the best contractors and best equipment out there, and we can work with any of them. So our product is very intuitive, easy to use. It can work on any phone, tablet, laptop. You can get to it from any secure internet connection. Very important that it's secure. Backward compatibility is a very important part of our system. They have a commitment to the oldest hardware communicates with the newest software. So we have systems that are 30-year-old hardware communicating with our newest software. That's unique in our industry. A lot of manufacturers create a new hardware version, and the software goes with it, and you got to upgrade. You're forced to upgrade. You'll never be forced to upgrade. So yeah, it's on your own timeline. Service is a very important part of our business. We provide 24-hour service. Anytime you need us, we're there. We have a full inventory of all the materials we put in your building, so we can get you back up and running if anything were to ever fail. Training. Training is a really big part of our business. We want to make sure your team, any of your facilities team, or anyone that you deem needs training can come for free. For the life of your system, we have 3 levels of training. Same training that my own technicians go through. So it's hands-on. They get their own computer. They get their own experience with working with our system, so they understand how to use it. We don't want to keep all the information to ourselves. We want to make sure your team knows how to use it. So Adam's going to talk a little bit more in depth about some of the benchmarking that we went through, and it was really exciting when we first we went with Josh, and we were able to benchmark your buildings to see where they're at, because we knew there's a ton of improvement that could be made. So Adam's going to talk about that.
Thanks, Justin. Good evening. So anytime you deal with energy, the first thing is you want to benchmark the building, and that's just figuring out, hey, where are we at? How much energy are we using? Which schools are using more? Which are using less? That will then allow you to come up with a game plan or an approach of how you want to tackle the build or your schools. So obviously, most of you know about Energy Star. There's Energy Star appliances and stuff like that that's out there. Energy Star also does a rating for different building types. Schools are one of those ratings. So it's rating from a 1 to 100. 100's the best, 1 is the worst. So without that kind of rating, you'd realize there's other ways you can talk about how much energy a building uses, but unless you're in the industry, it's kind of hard to know what does that mean. And so this gives you a very clear example of what's good and what's bad. So you can see you guys have a pretty good range. Coverdale at the low end has a score of 2. So that means it's in the 2% of the worst schools in the entire region or country. So where you have ECC is a 64, so that means it's almost in the top third. So as you can see, there's a lot of opportunities there. The majority of the schools are, well, almost all of them except for the ECC were below a 50. So that means almost all the schools were below just a median score. So as an energy guy, I see these numbers and it excites me. I love to save energy and I see there's a lot of opportunities. So we did this back in 2019. So in addition to that, when we benchmarked, just to get an idea, if we can get all the schools to a score of 50, just to be average, if we were forecasting, we would save the district a little over $476,000 a year. So you guys were going to be spending we're spending on the HVAC portion of your utility bills a little over $1 million. We're saying if we can get all these to a 50, $476,000 of annual savings. So we hope to do better than that, and we're going to show that you have, but that's the point. So it just shows, once again, here's numbers, there's lots of opportunities. So obviously the 3 methods we're going to use are through HVAC equipment, the building automation system, and lighting upgrades. Another big part of, they say you can't manage what you don't measure, so that's the whole idea of benchmarking. We're going to prove that, the proof is in the pudding with the results and show you some results that we've had over 12 months of savings, specifically Benton, this building, and Harris Elementary. So Benton, we finished this project about 2 years ago. As you can see, it's had over $42,000 of savings. During the implementation of the project, we got the district a little over $34,000 of Ameren Inspire incentives. This was one of those lower scores of an 18, and now it's almost up to a 50. So a pretty dramatic increase. So, we're saving about $21,000 a year. Next was Harris. This school actually went from a score of a 24 up to an 83. So any score that's over a 75 means you're eligible to be an Energy Star building or school. And so you can see in 15 months, over $58,000 of savings, and we were able to get you guys over $122,000 of incentives to help offset the cost. So this so far would be the poster child of the buildings that we finished just as far as this significant increase in energy efficiency. The high school, St. Charles High School, it's on its way to also being an Energy Star certified school. In just 5 months, we've saved over $44,000. So we're on pace to exceed over $100,000 a year of savings, almost $300,000 of incentives to offset the cost. The score went from a 15 to a 61, and we've only taken over half the school. So when this is all said and done, this is going to be one of the shining stars as far as from an energy perspective. So this is a list of all the projects that have been completed to date, both lighting, HVAC equipment, and BAS. So far, $839,341.22 is all the incentives that have been achieved so far through the Ameren program. So that'll be involving Jim here with the check, but we still have more work to come. We're forecasting, with the rest of the buildings that are left, an additional $462,000 of additional incentives. Those are estimated. Many times we estimate them, but we do better than that. And so we're looking at over $1.3 million of incentives as all part of this bond/ESSER fund work. So, any questions?
Wow.
Oh, and I did forget one other thing I wanted to mention, and I wanted to give some major kudos to Jeremy and to both of his predecessors. One of the reasons we have those savings numbers, and you guys are doing something that, as an energy person, I feel like you should do, is after you finish the project, you actually want to track the savings. And that has two reasons. One, benefit is we're able to tell you, you're able to promote it and say, tell the community, tell the board, hey, we're saving you guys all this money. We're being good stewards of the tax dollars that are given to us to use. But also, it's a hedge. And it's making sure that you're not going to lose those savings over time. As human beings, things happen, somebody changes this or changes that, changes the schedule. And if you don't have any way to realize it, next thing you know, your buildings are not running as efficiently as you can. So it's one of those where you pay a little bit, but we're saving, if you guys, we reach that $500,000 a year of savings, we're talking a very small amount to track these schools and make sure that you're maintaining that $500,000 of savings. So I wish all districts do it, not all of them do. And I just want to give Jeremy and his team kudos that they realize the value and they are doing that. Now, any questions?
I have one question. With a benchmark goal for Energy Star of 50, we're looking at a couple of the schools that have been completed so far. You've got like Benton with positive 31 kind of a net,
Yep.
all the way up to Harris with a positive of 59, which is a broad range.
Sure.
When we talk about Coverdale and Monroe as projects to be completed, we have good confidence, we think that they're going to get above that benchmark, knowing that it's going to be higher than a little bit of what we've seen before?
Yeah, I'm very confident. I mean, just because of,
The age.
well, the age, and even if you look at this building, with its age, we've kind of maxed out based on just how the building was built.
Sure.
50 is what we're going to achieve. And so with the changes that are going to come with those schools, I'm very confident that we're going to exceed a 50 on probably almost every school except for this one particular building, based on the current version of this building. So, yeah, and once again, the proof will be there, and, a year from now, maybe we'll be here talking again, and we'll be able to give you updated savings. So,
I like the savings, so yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
So, no,
Yep.
that's great. Well, it's tough, right? I'm sure from a scale to estimate. I'm not an engineer, I don't
Sure.
understand this. But knowing that we have a little bit of a range from this to other ones to kind of get a good confidence that's the goal and that's an achievable, realistic goal, and that's kind of the expectation for stuff. So thank
Yes,
you
sir.
very much.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Check time, let's,
Yeah.
I know Dr. Seifert's dying to get his picture taken with it, so.
Donna,
No, it's you.
No, you and Donna, go, because it's your work, go. Seriously, it's not me.
I don't want to hold these guys over too long, but I'll wait you out.
No, you won't. Get up there. Go, Donna.
Was there a height requirement on this?
Is there a height requirement?
Yeah, they'll let the check box.
I'll just say a few words. I was here last year. Actually, it's a little smoother atmosphere than what we had last year, if I recall. We were in the height of the pandemic and the masks and everything, so it's great to be here again this year. I just want to say, too, that it's been a pleasure working with the district. You've been super cooperative with everything that we've asked you to do on top of the projects. This isn't my only job. I actually been on a few roofs of the schools looking at the equipment that was installed, so I don't just go around presenting big checks, but so when Ameren introduced these programs probably 15 years ago already, the goal was really not only to help customers invest in higher efficient equipment, and that's really the general purpose of this, is to nudge customers to be more energy efficient when they really otherwise wouldn't have to be. But it's also benefiting Ameren, because a lot of people say, why does Ameren give this money away? Well, they really don't give it away, but there's a benefit to Ameren in that they don't have to generate more power, because it costs a lot of money to build a power plant. So by doing these demand-side management programs and customers saving this energy, it's also saving Ameren the investments that they would otherwise be doing to build a power plant. And everybody talks about decarbonization today. That's kind of the big buzzword. Well, Ameren actually did just shut down their first coal-fired power plant last year. So it has been successful, and we continue to see the success going forward. These programs will go beyond 23. We're already putting together a new 3-year program that will run through 2026. So still a lot of opportunities out there. So great to be here, and I have the pleasure of presenting this check with you tonight. So thank you very much.
We'd like to say, we can clap for that. Thank you guys for your friendship.
All right, 1, 2, 3. I got like 4 more of these. Just hang in there. 1, 2, 3. And lastly, 1, 2, 3. This one's acting a little goofy. It keeps kind of like flashing on me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It doesn't like it. Must be my bionic hand. Press the button. Yeah, great.
Thank you all for taking the time, and I have to say, I'm proud of this district that, I mean, all districts try to be energy smart, but I think sometimes we're kind of more than that, a little more visionary about thinking about the future and not just Band-Aiding things as we're going along, so thanks.
Oh, absolutely, and, you know, the board approves all of that, so we're very, very appreciative that you all saw the appeal in it more than 10 years ago, so we appreciate that.
It all makes sense. The proof is in the pudding. We're ready for item 9.02, and this is our program review for food services. Oh, did we? Oh, I just saw the presentation. Do I have a motion to approve the utility rebate presentation? I move we approve the utility rebate presentation. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. Now we're ready for item 9.02. This is our food services.
All right, see if I can get this to.
Well, I was wanting to introduce you just very briefly here, Michelle, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Sure.
So Michelle is so fortunate. She's been with us for 3 months, and we told her, hey, you get to present in front of the board. So I appreciate her enthusiasm and her complete appeal to even want to be up here, you know, and because it's difficult. It's difficult. You know, we had a director of food service that left in August, and we didn't have that position full-time until Michelle got here December 12th. And she has really ran with everything and got us back up to speed where we needed to be, and set me in line that I don't know what I'm talking about with food services and all of those good things. So she's here to speak to the board today, formally introduce her to you all, but also you guys get to hear from her. So thank you, Michelle.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't bring a check with me. Why'd you make me go after them? So, well, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to join you tonight. Many of you I have not got the pleasure of meeting, but I hope this is the first of many updates that you get from me for food service. So, oh, he's already on it. So I do want to take a brief moment to let you know a little bit about me and how I fell into school food service. I grew up in Hannibal, Missouri. I attended the University of Missouri-Columbia, where I received my bachelor's in biology. I then completed the St. Louis University's DPD program in dietetics and culinary, which that allowed me then to complete my dietetic internship in St. Louis, where I became a registered dietitian. I was fortunate to start with Chartwell's as a director in schools right away 9 years ago. So I most recently served as a director at Clayton School District for the last 4 years before coming here to St. Charles. So my personal goals as the dietitian side of me, really, when it comes to school food service, is I really want to expose students to as many diverse and different foods as possible, to challenge them to try new things and get out of their comfort zones. Along with this, I hope to help students develop healthy relationships with food that they can take with them home and in their years beyond school. I do want to thank the City of St. Charles School District for being such a wonderful partner to Chartwell's, and also, as I have learned firsthand, being an amazing place to work. The culture here is very evident that everyone works together to support and build and grow a great community. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. And we're one ahead. So the mission of the St. Charles School District Food Service Program is to provide the most healthy, delicious, and nutritious food to our students. The goal is to do this while staying financially responsible and maintaining a high quality of standards and options. So this picture, I'm so sorry. So this picture is actually a picture we just took last week of all of our kitchen managers. So they all range from being with us for, I'm thinking 38 years, and then some of them have been recently promoted to kitchen managers this last year. So I really got to walk into a really awesome, amazing team. I couldn't have asked for. Sometimes I wonder why they need me, sometimes, which is great because it's really allowing me to get to do the fun side of food service. So, okay, next one. Along with our mission, we also have goals of providing great meals and caterings to all of our staff as well. It's very important that we are catering to each building's needs to make sure that meal times are efficient and positive experiences. This goes along with making sure we are supporting all the families and students throughout the district. Simply put, we want to serve up happy and healthy. This mural was sent to me by our Harris lead. This is right outside the kitchen. It was made by the art class using, those are all recycled bottle caps. So the art class there made that. And then the next one, this is just a recent picture of Jefferson School. So those are some of the meals we serve, and then the cold bar. This is kind of a goal of mine to have the fresh fruit and vegetable bar where students can really have that option and empower them to make the healthy choices. Okay, next one. So over the last year, we've had several accomplishments. This fall, did receive the administrative review from DESE. This review happens every 5 years, and we are hoping to get a letter of final completion at any time now. The safety of our students is our #1 priority, and we continue to keep our allergy protocol up to date, along with making sure all of our staff is staying Fair Check certified. Digital signage and nutrition education is implemented in many areas of the district, along with all the updated marketing signage that was implemented in August. Next one. We continually keep equipment in good shape and maintain the strong relationships with programs like Lewis and Clark. The biggest obstacles over the last year have been product shortages and substitutions, along with a decreased labor market. But we've been able to work with Cisco and Foodbuy to navigate through this and use wage comparison studies throughout the area to stay competitive. This next one. So here's a little snapshot of last year compared to this year. As you can see, the free reduced rate has increased from 27% to 35%. That is expected as we're returning to the National School Lunch Program this year, where students had to fill out the forms, and in the past they did not. It's really great to see that our participation has stayed at 72%, and then gains and losses, that is down. Again, that's very much expected with the reimbursement rates we were receiving last year. And if you look back at our numbers prior to 2020, that's very comparable to what we were doing before then. So as the district moves to Power School, the food service program will be implementing Mosaic as its food service component of that. Along with that, we will be implementing the My School apps, which will allow families to complete free and reduced forms online. Our goal is to see an increase in the free reduced percentage and also reduce the administrative load that those paper applications can put on the staff. And then what's still to come, the federal guidelines are continuing to change. We will continue to meet and exceed those with appropriate menu planning. March is National Nutrition Month, so this year's theme is Fuel for the Future. We will be sampling the Energy Bites at all the schools next week, and we hope you all got a chance to try those tonight, possibly. Who knows? Yeah? Yeah, so we're going to be sending those out to all the buildings next week for the students to try. April and May, we'll be running the Mood Boost program at the elementaries. It's a fun and interactive way to teach kids that the different foods can affect your moods. And then finally, we hope to have the Chartwell's area food truck scheduled at a few locations for lunch, too. And so our future is bright as we continue to develop and enhance existing programs. Our focus remains recognizing and celebrating our great team, along with staying up to date with current food trends and implementing them into our cafeterias. So again, thank you, and I look forward to working with you all in the future.
I have some questions in this.
Okay.
It's been, I haven't been there this year, but I have noticed, at least at the high schools, with signage indicating for food allergies, this is milk, you know, students have milk allergies, things like that. And I saw that you have, in that last one, you said that there was a Fair Check allergy certification. What is that?
It's an online training that all the staff does that makes, it's actually the only recognized certification for us to take to be allergy certified.
And so what I was getting at is, for a student who has celiac disease, would one of the cafeteria workers recognize if there was a cross-contamination that occurred? Do they recognize what gluten is or how to avoid that?
Yes, they do. However, any student that's, anything severe like that, you know, we always have the nurse notes first, and we want to have those students marked so that those meals are completely made separate.
That was my other
Yeah,
question.
but
Because our
we
equipment.
can't promise that if they're grabbing it off the line, basically, if we don't know if the student has it.
Because equipment, we don't have just a gluten-free kitchen.
Correct, right.
So we couldn't, but those students, then I didn't realize, the nurse for severe allergies, maybe peanut or gluten or that kind of thing,
Yeah.
then for young kids who might not handle it well. Older kids probably know how to avoid stuff, but.
Any of the severe ones, we have altered menus for, that their meals are actually prepared separately and picked up differently, so.
Okay, so that cross-contamination is at least lessened, and for young children who don't know that, then you have a mechanism in place.
Yes,
to-
that training goes over how to, like, clean your station, prepare allergy-free items first before you're doing anything like with gluten and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think all my questions were about making sure for students that had special needs of food needs. Thank you.
I have no questions, only comments. One, thanks for coming and presenting so
you're welcome.
fresh. I think it's great that we have somebody in your position that has the background of being a dietitian and all that stuff. I'm super familiar with the slide that had the chicken patty and the pizza, because I remember that from when I was a kid, except I'm used to the square pizzas.
Yeah.
That were done on big sheets. So seeing that, but more importantly, seeing the vegetables and all that fresh food and that being a goal, I think is really important and is a key highlight of stuff kind of putting in place that's just, you know, good and helpful for our students. So again, no questions, just comments. So thanks so much for coming, and that's great stuff to see.
I have a question. Is reaching out to the free and reduced lunch population under your purview?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you try to ensure that every family who qualifies for free and reduced lunch knows how to apply?
Well, Jeremy might have to help me with this for the beginning of the school year. But, you know, a lot of students do qualify through the direct certification program, which is an automated program. If they got any type of state benefits, then it automatically comes to us. Secondly, I know notifications sent out in the beginning of the year. Anytime we have students with balances you know, we definitely reach out to them then and with counselors to see if that's an issue. But I know it's probably broadcasted.
Yeah. So typically well, this year was a bit unique because we believe we were going to have the electronic version available to us the entire summer. Not knowing that there was a software company, a student information system that we used and have used for many years that was looking to sell and get out of the business. So as we were being told, this is coming, this is coming, this is going to happen, and then we realized the student information system was leaving, we did not have that electronic version. So in late July, we had to start sending out the paper version to all of our families and communicate that through email primarily. But we also had the schools emailing parents, and then on open house night or enrollment process, we would push that through as well. It's very difficult at times to get people to respond for the free and reduced lunch program. And it does take some cold calling at times, specifically from our counseling department, if they know that there's qualification there and it's a benefit to that family. So we're hopeful with the new system, new student information system, with it being an electronic format, that increases the application process for us in the next school year, because it will be a part of that enrollment, electronic enrollment that we're currently doing.
This has especially been a tough year too, starting this year, because through COVID, basically everybody ate free, which I thought that was great. I'm personally. So it was a struggle to get people back in the habit of filling out those forms. So I'm glad you asked that again, because our principals and our staff and our counselors are pretty hyper-focused on that, because two things. One, we want our kids to eat and make sure they get what they need. And two, there's grant money with that. There's federal funds with that in terms of with Title I funds. And so tied to those numbers. And so that's something that we're hyper-focused on. And so as Jeremy said, with Power School coming back on, that's a huge push at the beginning of the year for sure, to make sure everybody has that, so that information. So
I have a comment, I guess, more than a question, but I just wonder, because I too agree that every kid should eat free in a public school. So that $839,000 check, I mean, these incentives we get on energy, is that something, and I don't need an answer to this question, it's just a thought, is that monies we can put towards feeding our kids in the schools?
it's a good question, and we do have I think we do have an answer on that in terms of not so much the money that we saw tonight, but through our funding with Chartwell's. You want to talk about in terms of at the end, the balance and what we do with that? And
Yeah, we typically will cover those balances through district monies at the end of every school year.
Okay.
And we also offer parents, because we do have some very, very good-hearted community members that would like for us to set up benevolent funds. And there are community members that push money into those benevolent funds to cover some of those balances for those students.
tell me if I'm wrong, though, Jeremy, and I could be talking, maybe you want me to get the answer later so I don't say it wrong, but I do think there is some language in with Chartwell's over the years where if we have a profit with them, there is some language of how much that money needs to be put back into the system in terms of either improvements for the kitchens or use it for paying for.
I think that's true, because I
kids.
remember us
So we-
doing that in the past.
So there's built-in money that we do.
Yeah.
Plus.
We'll do that, I just don't know the percentage.
No, we don't,
Right.
but we do have that already kicked in, and we've sent some information out this year that said, because there's been a lot of conversations that have been, again, this year about families just not understanding that it's not free for everybody again, which is a big change again, and then all of a sudden, we saw these amounts go up, and we're working to take care of those things. And then I also will say, during the summertime, Chartwell's works great with us as well to make sure that we're feeding our kids when they come to summer school too, so. And just a quick note, obviously Michelle's new to us, I just wanted to say, we had a long standing director here, Shirley Derby's with us forever it seemed like, and it was a very abrupt change. And we did not see, it hasn't been a blip. Michelle's come right in and has just been a breath of fresh air and has just done a great job, and
Thank you.
and it's been seamless, so I just want to make sure I say that.
You mentioned that Chartwell's handles summer school.
They work with us through that.
But does Chartwell's or who, our backpack kind of programs over the summer when we're providing, don't we provide food
Well, and backpacks during the school year as well,
At-
like on the weekends.
on weekends?
Does Chartwell provide that?
Who
No.
handles that?
Chartwell's doesn't provide the funding or the food for that piece.
Other community resources
That's
help
through
us
our-
Care
with
to
that.
Learn is a big
Care to Learn's a
component
big
of
part of
that.
that.
Okay.
And we have a huge backpack program that we do.
Okay.
And just my one last question. The forms that parents receive for the free and reduced, do you have those in Spanish as well? Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the food service program review?
I move to approve the food service program review as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand.
Oh, sorry, aye.
See, I thought it would, we're doing that. All those opposed, say nay. Raise your hand. Thank you, that passes. And now the favorite part of our program, our district financial report.
I suppose, hey, Chris, if you could go down to the year end for February 23, that would be great. All right, so what we're showing there is that 43.7%, but that's not where we know we're not going to land there.
Wow.
Because honestly, we know that for sure. Don't get your hopes up out in the audience, please. I know there's not many of you, but really.
What about the people at home?
Yeah.
Or at home. There's probably not many at home either, but what we're probably looking at is more like a 30% right now as it sits, knowing that we will continue getting some revenue in to offset the salaries and benefits, the bulk of where our spending is. But a couple of key points I wanted to provide the board. One, if you look at the total revenue on Fund 1 and Fund 2, because remember, Fund 1 and Fund 2 are the only places that we get that fund balance from. You would, if you compared it to February of 2022, you'll see that we're up about 3.7 million at this time last year. So that's significant. A lot of that's due to personal property tax increases. It's due to incentives. It's due to rebates. It's due to an increase a bit in federal revenue, which we had anticipated. There's a CPI index, or the CPI, which is Prop C. There's additional revenue from that as well. But obviously, from year to year, we're going to spend more money. And in the total expenditures, we are saving money right now on our insurance by the tune of about $711,000. That's from July to February, though. Usually when we present our insurance, it is from January 1 to December 30th. So 31st. So if you, taking that into consideration, if we're going July to February, we're saving about $711,000 from the previous school year. So if we take that expenditure, take that out, and just look at salaries, employee benefits, supplies, capital outlay, all of that good stuff, our expenditures have increased from last year to this year, just slightly over $1 million. So we're sitting about $2 million ahead of where we're at this time last February, which is a pretty good sign. It's a pretty good indicator knowing where our fund balance ended up when we were determining it in December. So we're in a healthy spot. We're in a very healthy spot, and I'm excited about where we're landing right now, as we know that's important to everyone sitting in this room. So no concerns from me. I will say March 1st, we will have a pretty significant payment, as we do every March 1st, from our debt service fund, which Fund 3. That's going to equate to about $7.8 million. But that's that principal and interest payment. That's a separate tax rate percentage that we have for the city of St. Charles. So all in all, it's a great report. We're sitting in a very healthy spot, and I'm very pleased with where we're sitting at. But obviously, things change quickly, as we know. So that insurance fund that I'm saying that we're ahead right now, 711 from July to February, we're just, honestly, with insurance, we're just a few claims away from that reversing. So we always want to look at that. We always want to be aware of that. The big thing with insurance, when you look at that employee benefits piece, we always want to maintain at least a balance of $800,000, because if we go from being fully self-insured to being partially self-insured, we will need that money to make that change. So, and we're definitely, we're above 700. We're going to be sitting about a little over 1.5 right now in that, which doesn't show you on there. But I thought those were a few things of importance for you guys. And then just to also let you know that we're sitting in a good spot in comparison to where we're at last year. And last year, we finished in a good spot. We finished in a healthy spot.
So good report, Mr. Shields, and I don't want to be a downer for everybody, but just make sure you continue to pay attention to what the legislative session looks like, because there are pending future bills there that could definitely be a negative effect on our bottom dollar here coming up, so in the next 2 or 3 years. So it could shift drastically. Just want to make sure people know that.
Right. The personal property is the one that's the most concerning for us. Some people say, well, it won't be too difficult to budget with these changes. But all of our budgets are based off trends. And we've already been hit pretty hard with our trends being impacted from COVID through federal stimulus dollars rolling in, increase in staffing due to those, which we've planned for. But again, that disrupts that trend that we are always counting on. You throw in a personal property change as drastic as being proposed, that will completely disrupt the trend that we base our budgets off of. So to give you an idea, the legislation right now is, it's based off MSRP value, and then it has a percentage of going down over a 10-year period. There's 400,000 taxable items in St. Charles County where the school districts, we rely heavily in all of St. Charles County schools on local tax dollars, not state or federal. We love their money, don't get me wrong, but we rely heavily on the local tax dollars. So any impact to that will have us concerned, and will have us making, collectively, will have us making some tough decisions.
Any questions for Jeremy? Daniel?
No, 40%. We're going to end the year at 40%.
Please don't, please don't.
No.
I move to approve. Budget is presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That report passes. The last item on the agenda is our adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.